passionate about Cleveland sports.
He's going in! Touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond.
Swinging it right! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jared Watson.
Hey, it's Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond. He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson. Thanks for tuning in this week.
Cleveland Browns.
The Browns are heading into a Sunday full of landmines against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where it's a game earlier in the season I would have told you that I can almost guarantee they're going to win. And now that we're at this point in the season, between injuries and some really sloppy penalties and a run game defense, a run defense that can't seem to stop anyone, I think that the Browns, their chances of winning this game in Tampa Bay are completely diminished at this point. I'm not confident. Andy, what's going on, brother?
No, nothing much. It's glad to be back here. We just did Facebook. Had a little bit of an error, but just want to let everybody know. Now everybody can find Jimmy Hoffa's body. So that's what I've been talking about here for the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Well, they missed it.
They missed it. They completely missed it. So maybe next time. But yeah, I mean, there's so many places to start on this team. There's been a lot of different directions to go. So maybe what we'll do is start with the Buccaneers. You have a team coming in, you kind of teed it up. Winston's now the starting quarterback again. Defensive coordinator gets fired this week. They really had a horrible time running the ball. And on top of it, obviously, with a defensive coordinator being fired, they've had a hard time really stopping anything. And on top of it, there's all sorts of changes. Fitzpatrick starts, Winston suspended. The Bucs are in a similar state as the Browns. Actually, I think the Browns are in a better state, if I'll be honest with you, that the Bucs are really going through a lot of change already quickly. So, as you said, you would think it would be teed up for victory, but really what's really come to light is the injuries. And you and I have talked about the Browns' depth, and boy, the injuries really started to pile up. Schobert was injured, as we already alluded to on Sunday, and he's been a great, not to do too much on this road, but Schobert's really had a strong year. Really played well. Has become the leader. He's calling out the play. Schobert's really taken a step forward on this team. I've been really impressed by him.
Yep.
With that said, he's got a pulled hamstring, and
he'll be a couple weeks, right?
Maybe more. I mean, you know how hamstrings work. That's not a quick fix. Hamstrings, there's no magic elixir. Sometimes it's 2 weeks. Sometimes it's 6. There's really no magic reasoning behind it. Baseball, you can play through a hamstring. I think in football it's much harder. I don't think it's as easy to play through, especially when you're Schobert and you're running around as much as he is. So I think Schobert's going to be at least multiple. I mean, at least 2. I think multiple is probably more accurate. J.C. Tretter got banged up. He might play on Sunday. If not, our guard out of the second round, Austin Corbett, which I think is interesting, is going to be the center this week. So that would be, if that happens, that would be something to watch too. And then the bigger thing that kind of came around yesterday, E.J. Gaines is in concussion protocol, and with that being said, that's an automatic. You're out for this week.
Yeah. What happened, by the way? What happened with that?
Well, I think Hugh's wondering that.
We got all the answers, didn't we?
Well, of course. So, in our annual, as we call in this podcast, State of Hugh, there seems to be some confusion here of what's really going on with E.J. Gaines' injury. Before it kind of came out to the press, Jackson alluded to saying, hey, it had nothing to do with practice with E.J. Gaines. I guess it's something that had been lingering, and it's just finally gotten to the point where he needed to be sent to concussion protocol. TJ Carey then, shortly afterwards, said, and I quote, unfortunately, we had a couple things go wrong in practice. So much in this league and so many things can happen. You always have to be prepared as a starter. Meaning, he's alluding to, well, it sounds like Gaines got hurt in practice this week. And that's why he's in concussion protocol, even though Jackson said, and I quote, had nothing to do with practice. I mean, that's contradictory 101, right? It's black and white. They're saying 2 different things here. So Hugh Jackson, I'll let you rant. That's one last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hugh Jackson then comes back and says, I don't know what happened. We just came back today, made an adjustment. That's odd. Your guess as good as mine.
Oh, well, thank God. Thank God you're the head coach. Thank God we got a guy to go to when we need answers. Thank God. One of 2 options with this, Andy, and we've talked about it. Again.
I'm talking about that.
Yeah. Let's see here. Option one, Hugh's full of it. Hugh's not being honest. Hugh's not being forthright with the information. Hugh is taking an issue that he doesn't need to be made into anything, and once again, turning it into a thing, because Hugh seems to have this idea in his head that he needs to keep these secrets, and that he's like this mob boss or something, where he's the owner. Don't worry about it. Fell off the back of the truck. Get out of here, Hugh. That's not how this works. If you would just open up and be honest about small things like this, people wouldn't say the things about you that they are saying. Because the other option is, you don't know, you're incompetent. Yeah. How do you not know what's going on the field with your players, even off the field, considering you're the head football coach of the Cleveland Browns? How do you not know what is going on? Both of those options are BS. And like I've said before, I try real hard to make sure I don't have to click the explicit language box every time I post one of these podcasts. Today is the closest to clicking it that I have felt since we started. I am tired of Hugh's BS. I'm tired of him acting like he can just go out there. You know what it reminds me of? And this is probably why I got so angry with Urban Meyer, because he pulled the same garbage that Urban tried to pull with the not knowing anything with his offensive coordinator.
All right. I will say this. Hugh is having a hard
lying.
Hugh Jackson's having a hard time communicating to the press, to his fellow coaches, as he said he was shocked about some things Haley did during the game. And he's had a hard time with this really throughout his tenure here with the Browns, which has been only two years and 6 games in now. Hugh's had a really hard time with this, and he also has a very hard time being transparent. He just is not clear on what his message is or what is going on. I think this is a pretty simple case, and you kind of alluded to it. EJ Gaines gets hurt in practice. That happens all the time in the NFL. Happened to go down in practice. So you get injured in practice, go to concussion protocol, and that's it. Instead, he makes it into something now where he seems confused, seems like he doesn't know what's going on. And, again, on this podcast, we've hammered it home. He's a nice guy. Really appreciate Hugh Jackson as a man. But as a head coach, this is just example, I say 25, of I just don't think this guy's really ready for this kind of head management. And I really mean that in those terms. A head coach is supposed to have knowledge of football, obviously, has to have a good grasp of the game. But part of being a head coach is being a manager. You really need to dictate how things get done when it comes to verbalizing things to the press, to your coaches, to your team. And Hugh has just been very poor on that, in my opinion. I know the players like playing for him. I know they think he's a good guy. But that does not mean it's translating into wins or positive energy. Mm-hmm. The Browns just seem to always be in this murky situations with Hugh. It's been this way since really day one. And here's another example. I thought it really started all the way back with RG3 and him traveling to go see, Carson Wentz, and then he's traveling over the country. I thought that was weird. It really started then with him for me. And, again, he's a nice guy and all, but he's got to go at the end of the year.
Who's a better leader at the podium post game or after practice? Is it Baker Mayfield or Hugh Jackson?
Well, right now it's Baker Mayfield.
And that in itself is enough. Your rookie quarterback is more trusted at the podium, sounds more like a leader at the podium than your head football coach. Give me a break.
Yeah, Hughes, again, this is just another layer to this thing. And, pivoting to Mayfield is a big week for him too. And, as a rookie quarterback, it really is day-to-day. It's not really a 4-game set or a season. I think as a rookie, it really takes day-to-day. So you're hoping you see a bounce back from Mayfield. To what you're kind of mentioning there, Mayfield does a good job of bringing positive energy, positive messaging. Sounds like a leader. Sounds like someone who's confident in his abilities. So I would like to see how he plays this week. But even if he comes off with an okay or sluggish game, I have good confidence in Mayfield because of how he's presenting himself so far.
Right.
I think that's a good thing, because as a rookie quarterback, there's going to be more games like we saw against the Chargers. Those games are going to come up again. So I agree with you. And you know what? Long term, that's what I want, anyways. I want Mayfield to be the guy who's good because we know he's going to be here longer than you. So that's good to see. And, the other big story that kind of came out on Sunday that's been talked about a lot throughout a lot of publications and talk show hosts is what's going on with our buddy Landry. Yeah. This is a huge week, I think, for him. I think he really needs to step up and play well. He's really played okay so far. I think he's been average. I think he's been good at times, but I have not seen the greatness I saw in preseason. I'm not seeing it. And
where do you think that comes from? Because it's not even just in his play, but I mean, even the swagger that he came into the season with, if it feels like he might even be down on himself or frustrated, which isn't a good sign if that's
well,
the case.
I think he got too wrapped up into that. I've seen him really jawing with a lot of people this year. I think he needs to just focus on the game. Focus on what's going on ahead of you. Don't worry about what these other guys are saying or what other people are doing. Focus on you, focus on Mayfield, focus on what's on the team. I think he needs to relax. I think he's trying to carry not only himself on the field, but this persona he created through Hard Knocks.
Right.
And I think he needs to relax on that. Just take a breath, play a solid game, and let those other things handle themselves. Because, as we alluded to last week and again throughout Sunday, and here we are again, the wide receivers merry-go-round situation. Yeah. So Rashard Perryman and Damari Scott get used to their names. I think they're going to be on the field. I think they actually might be on the field quite a bit of times, as they're going to be seen along with Ratley.
Let me ask you this about, and if Ratley's already he's the number, he might be the number one receiver at this point if Landry doesn't fix himself. But if I've been thinking about this a lot, and I know I talk about fool's gold. Rashad Perryman has not demonstrated that he has the hands to be an NFL wide receiver, right? He was a big letdown with the Ravens, and then where'd he go after that? The Cardinals or somewhere? Where'd he go?
He kind of floated around. I mean, look, Perryman really is an unknown.
Right.
Because even when he played, he never stood out. He never made plays. I know he dropped passes too. I just thought Perryman's a weird pickup. That's why I'm not there. And maybe this is what he needed. And maybe he's actually putting out 100% effort because he realizes.
That's what I'm curious about.
And by the way, in fairness, Higgins kind of went through the same thing last year when he got cut by the Browns and got brought back on the practice squad, right? So in fairness, maybe Perriman's had one of those, you know what?
Aha moment, a wake-up call.
Right. My career's on the line. Maybe he's trying to figure it out. When I watch Perriman play, I don't, that's what I remember him playing. I don't remember him making any plays. I don't remember him really standing out. I don't remember him making very many catches. He just does not stand out as a player. So he has a lot to prove, as all these guys do, as Callaway does. The bigger thing here, how much can this group really support Baker Mayfield and catch the ball, along with David Njoku, along with Duke Johnson? I think you're going to see a lot of these guys play this week.
Yeah.
And I think the bigger thing here is, you have a rookie quarterback, you really could use some support, and that's why I think it's key on Landry. Landry is the one guy who's got experience. He's got one guy who's got leadership abilities. Can he really take the throttle here and have a big week to allow Baker to take those next steps and let him feel more confident?
And I don't feel like it's fair to leave this on Baker with this group of guys. No. And I've said it before that this is they're sticking with the original plan, the strategy that they had at the beginning to develop the young guys. They weren't going to go out and grab any others at this point. If Tyrod was still the quarterback, that makes all the sense in the world. Got it. We'll ride this out. We'll get this team to develop throughout the season. Good. But you've got your rookie quarterback in there, and now you're going to leave him floundering. You're going to leave him holding onto the ball in the pocket longer than he should and taking more hits because he doesn't trust the wide receivers he's got out there, or they're not getting open. And if that's the case, you got to do something about that because it's not going to be good for his development, his confidence, and his trust.
The mistake I think that was made here, the proper thing and the good thing probably for the Browns was to get rid of Gordon. I'm not going to go back on that. So I think that's true. The thing that I think now has become apparent to me with Dorsey, and this is where Dorsey, I think, made a mistake. it's one thing to cut someone. It's another thing to not replace that in some sort of fashion. I'm not saying there's a Josh Gordon out there to be had, but you have to do something to sort of supplant this talent, because this is what happens when you start cutting and getting through injuries. Now you're left with this. And that's where I think the mistake was made here with the wide receivers. And this is the first time I saw Dorsey. And again, he's done a lot of great things. I think Dorsey's a really good GM. But this is one thing I think he's messed up.
Do you think maybe that his outlook on that came from the fact that he didn't feel like he was getting rid of anything because he never counted on Gordon to begin with?
That was a mistake. Because again,
clearly,
that was a mistake. Because again, you can say he's a bad apple, and it's easy to cut people, but when you went into the season, you were thinking Gordon's going to provide you with some options and provide you with some talent to win games, right?
You were hoping.
You have to think that. You'd have to think that. No, anybody else would say differently would be wrong. So when you do that, I'm not saying you have to sign Des Bryant, but what I'm saying is you have to come up with a plan of like, okay, we're taking this away. Who are we going to put in to help out support a young staff of receivers and then Landry?
Ratley.
And nothing was done. And now you're to the point where I kind of know why Dorsey's doing what he's doing. He's sitting and waiting and picking up Rashard Perryman and signing guys like Scott, because you need to sit and wait until the trade deadline gets closer. We talked about it here on Sunday. Amari Cooper's a guy who's really being rumored. Or Monday. We talked on Monday. Boy, you can tell my third coffee is not something.
I'm already on my second. I'm feeling you.
Right, exactly. So Amari Cooper is another one that's been rumored about, and it's been picked up by a lot of people. But again, even something like Amari Cooper, I don't blame Dorsey for holding out, because right now the price tag's probably going to be too high from the Raiders.
Right.
You need to wait for that price tag to come down. And, October 30th will be another busy day. I will say this. I think it's going to be a busy day again for the Browns. I think you're going to see some sort of trade to bring in someone. Or if they don't, I think you're going to see some losses as time goes on, because I just don't – because of the inexperience.
That's big, because that's the thing. We don't win this Sunday, and then you're not set up for success for the next four games. I mean, they really do need to come away with a win this Sunday.
Well, yeah, I was going to bring that up too. I mean, after this week, and by the way, the Steelers are on a bye. So you're going to get the Steelers in Pittsburgh off a bye week.
Of course we are.
I mean, good luck. I mean, that's going to be a tough game. We don't even need to preview it until on Friday of next week. We can preview it now. That's going to be a tough game for the Browns to win. And then after that, you get the Chiefs. I mean, that's pretty brutal. That is pretty brutal. The Browns have a lot to fight upstream here, Mr. Watson, and I'll tell you, I think again, this is the progression of an NFL season. This game is very winnable. We kind of teed it up. I mean, the Bucs are a throwing team. Their defensive coordinator gets fired. The weather's going to be warm. It's going to be hot, but it's not going to be like it was in Miami with the Miami and Chicago game. It's not going to be that kind of dreadful hot. So this is a very winnable game on the road. It's going to be interesting to see how this team progresses after a loss like that. And on top of it, you're finally going through some major injuries. You're going to see a lot of Calhoun. You're going to see a lot this week of TJ Carey, because the other guys, Mitchell's out for the year, and Gaines looks like he's going to be out, probably going to be out for a couple games.
And this is what makes me feel like this game is nothing but a bunch of landmines. We look at all the reasons that the Browns should win this game, and we come away with those reasons no longer exist, right? The Buccaneers can't run the ball. Oh, watch. They're going to run for close to 200 yards on Sunday because Browns. The Browns win because they get the takeaways and they get the turnovers. Well, Schobert's one of those guys who helps with that. He's gone, and your secondary is pretty much diminished to the point where they're just going to struggle to cover guys. So that's gone. There's not going to be the turnovers. What what other issues do we have that we could have called out that they should have won the game? Because Baker Mayfield's so accurate. Well, guess what? Wide receivers can't catch the ball. So there's the third reason. That you can go on and on of why the Browns should have won 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, not today.
I agree. I will say this is a great litmus test for the Browns. because all teams in the NFL go through this. All teams do.
Right.
The Browns are going through it now. They're finally going through the meat of it. They're facing some real adversity and some real challenges. The next 2 weeks after that are against, again, in Pittsburgh after a bye week, and then the Chiefs. Those games are going to be hard. Okay? They're going to be hard to win.
They're going to be hard to watch, let alone hard to win.
Well, no, I don't know about that. I mean,
I think the Pittsburgh game is winnable still. I do. I think that the Chiefs game is, I mean, unless the Chiefs completely fall apart because of, losing by a field goal to the Pats. I don't know.
Right. NFL changes on a dime sometimes. You can have injuries. You can have things come up. So
Fitzpatrick's an example.
Well, that's my point. I mean, you can go through a lot, but this game, I think, is going to really show what we're in for the final 9 games. I think after this week, I think for the first time, I'll start saying, all right, I think I get a vibe here week to week of what's going to go on, because, you can have other injuries and that's going to happen and players coming in and out, but we're really going to see the guts of this team on Sunday. Horrible blowout loss at home. Wide receivers are inferno. Your best wide receiver has been called out by the press and by others for not playing well. Your defensive leader in Schobert, who's calling out plays, is out with injury for probably a couple games, probably more. And then you're having big secondary issues. And, your special teams are terrible. And here you go. You come walking into the Buccaneers, a winnable game on the road, and a team that's facing similar adversity. It is a great litmus test for this team. And I think it's what makes Sunday's game intriguing more than maybe – the Steelers game is always intriguing, but this game to me holds a lot of weight for how the season plays out. There's also been reports that are coming out about if Hugh goes. There's been a couple people being rumored, one being Josh McDaniels, Lincoln Riley. There's been actually one guy who said that sounds like Matt Campbell, the former Toledo coach now at Iowa State, is someone that might be that Dorsey likes. I think these are all names to watch.
I don't know what to make of any of these. I never make an assessment. Well, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I liked Hugh when he came in. I don't know what we can all have opinions over this, over who should take over.
Right.
But at the end of the day, we're not going to know until, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks and, or a full season of what you like and don't like with somebody.
Well, right. I mean, let's just go crazy. Let's say Bill Cowher goes, I'm ready to coach again, and I would love to coach the Browns. Well, that changes everything. The reason why I brought that up is because, Gruden did that, and that was really shocking. By the way, I don't think Cowher's coming back.
No, you can tell he still loves us.
No. By the way, I don't want to even start down that track. I was just making an example.
I got you.
My point being is a lot of things can change. You're going to hear Brian Shaw's name a lot, the coach at Stanford. He's another guy who's been rumored forever now. He seems to be very linked in to being a Stanford forever, but maybe he sees the Browns as intriguing with the quarterback, with the young team. Maybe that intrigues Brian Shaw. I don't know. But you're going to hear all these names coming up, and I'm going to piggyback off what you said. Too early to tell. Let's not go down these roads, because on top of it, these things change really hour from hour sometimes. So you'll hear these names. I wouldn't put any weight into it until really week 17 is finished. And then you can start going down these roads. I just have learned too many times at coaches, things change literally from hour to hour. Because Iowa State can run in and do something, or Matt Campbell could get a job offer, maybe at a bigger school in college and stays. Lincoln Riley, the same thing too. So all these things can change really on an hour-to-hour basis. All right, so let's go to some 4 burning questions here on a Friday.
Yep.
So, we kind of teed it up, but I want to ask you, and then I'll follow. Is this a big week for Landry? Because it's always a big game for Hugh, and it's always a big game for Mayfield, and it should be for those two. And it's going to be a week-to-week thing, but I can argue this week that I think the biggest, maybe the guy who really needs to show up and really play on different levels, Landry. When you hear that, what do you think? Who do you think got all the pressure this week coming into this game?
Well, it makes sense, because this is a game where, despite the other shortcomings that the Browns have run into coming into this week, I think that this should be a game where Landry could walk away with 100+ yards and receptions and 2 touchdowns, that possibility's there because it's there for the taking. The Buccaneers don't have a defense that would make me think otherwise. So if you don't walk away with that, then then you didn't even, that would be the average. You know what I mean?
Right.
Against this defense. That, maybe one touchdown and, I'll even take 90, maybe 5 or 6 receptions, 90 plus yards, whatever. He's got to do something, though. He's got to show up, and he should lead the stat lines for receivers this coming Sunday for the Browns.
I think this is a huge game for Landry. I think he's actually going to play well this week. I think he's going to play through. I think another guy to watch who it's really, I guess I should say guy to watch, but I think another person who's been brought up a lot this week who doesn't have a lot of pressure on him, but I think you're going to see more and more Duke Johnson. His name's been brought up a lot this week. We've already seen his numbers go up in the last 2 games. I think there's more Duke Johnson to come as well. And I agree. I hope so. I'm indifferent. I like seeing Duke Johnson in third in bubble screens. I don't like seeing Duke Johnson doing tons during the games. That means that the other receivers aren't producing.
For that reason, I got you, but you can't deny his athletic ability.
No, I agree.
And what he brings to the table. I watched somebody had posted an old throwback video of Kosar to Metcalf that really reminded me of the style that Duke plays, and that's what I wish the Browns understood about using Duke that I just haven't seen them take advantage of in 3 years. No,
I agree. I've got another guy comes to mind. This is non-Brown, but Dave Meggett really did that a lot for the Giants, and I agree. But again, I don't want to see Duke Johnson having, I say, 8 to 10 catches. I want to see him more at 5 to 8.
I was 4 to 6. I mean, I think that he only had. I mean, that works for me.
Well, the thing is, he's in the past he can get a lot of catches quickly. I want to see more Duke Johnson, yes, but I don't want to see overhaul Duke Johnson. I don't want to see him really putting too much on his shoulders. All right, so we're kind of alluding to this, so let's get to it. The second biggest target on the Browns right now, and I'm going to answer this first.
Yep.
I think the second biggest target right now, for everything I'm seeing, and I think this is why I don't think you're going to like this answer. I think it's actually still Callaway. Because Callaway has got the speed. He's got the ability to do things. I think with all this stuff going on in Landry, we should be reminded that Callaway needs to play well for the Browns to win. If he's not playing well with everybody we just mentioned, from the Ratleys to the Perrymans to the Scotts,
right,
it's big for Callaway to catch the ball and play well. I still think he's the second biggest target on his team. I don't think that's the best thing at times, but I do think that's the right answer here.
David Njoku.
Yeah, that's another guy too I thought of. I thought of too.
I don't necessarily like that either because we see that, he's not going to win the game for the Browns. But it's nice to be able to, toss up a jump ball in the corner of the end zone. He can get up there and get it.
I agree.
He's got that potential. He made one of those beautiful catches last week.
It would mean a lot for David to start playing better. And that's why I brought this. This is my second question, because I think the second biggest target sometimes gets forgot about, and sometimes in the NFL, those are the guys who get the ball the most because they're taking away the first option.
Well, Callaway gives you more breakaway potential, gives you more scoring potential. So I would rather Callaway be that guy. I just don't know that he's going to be there yet. I don't know that he's going to be ready this weekend.
Well said. Defensive turnovers, you kind of brought this up earlier. They only had one last week. So question 3, do you think with all the injuries we just mentioned at the top, do you think this is kind of what we're going back to, 1 to 2 turnovers a game, or do you think we'll get into 3s and 4s again?
Well, I think you can get into 3s and 4s if Myles Garrett can, another guy who needs a big game, if Myles Garrett can have the impact that he should be having. And then also if they target guys around Ward, that there's always the potential he's going to strip the ball out of their arms. It's that simple. So 3 and 4, I don't know. They did come back to earth a little bit. The injuries didn't help that cause. 2 and 3, maybe still the potential. But even then, I feel like the Browns fan in me is just being optimistic.
Yeah, I think the turnover thing is going to start to settle down a little bit. I think it might come back as season goes on. But I think it's going to settle down. I think you're looking more at 1, maybe 2. I just don't think those turnovers, they're just coming in bunches. I just don't think it's going to happen. I was going to say this for the end, but I'll do it now. I really think Myles Garrett's got to start playing great. That's one thing I'm going to watch on Sunday. I want to see Myles Garrett make an impact on a game like I've seen Denzel Ward do in 2 games this year.
He really has been doubled up on a lot.
I know, but it's time. It's time. You got to start making plays. Bruce Smith, Lawrence Taylor, will go through the list. All these guys got double teamed. You got to start making plays. Got to. No more offsides either, bud.
The offsides are killer. I like that aggressiveness though on the snap count. I do, but yes, you're right on that. He's a great talent who's playing good. He has to start playing great, I think, with everything that's going on. Yeah,
he needs to take his game to the next level. He's not an average player. I think he's playing good. I think it's now time for him to take that next step. He needs to become great.
I think he's going to. I mean, I don't doubt that. I don't think I'm worried about him long term. But yes, if he's going to have an impact on the field this year and help the Browns take some of these games that are, up for grabs, this week is one of them. So we'll see how it goes this week.
I'm just bringing it up as I've not seen that jump yet. I see hints of it. I've not seen that jump yet.
No.
This would be a great game to do it. Last one, I think everything that's being bantered around about Amari Cooper, you get the vibe the Browns, this might change, but as of right now, they're not going to trade a 1, which is probably what the Raiders are asking for Amari Cooper. Would you trade him for a second-round pick? I'll go first here on this one. I've been debating this as I'm not a big Amari Cooper fan. I would never trade a 1 for Amari Cooper.
Right.
But
no. If you'd have put a 1 there, I absolutely would not.
No. If they come back to a 2, it's tempting. And I don't know if the Raiders are going to do that, but they might get desperate enough where they do. And then that's where I start hemming and hawing. I still think at the end of the day, I can't believe I'm going to say this, I still think you don't trade for Amari Cooper even for a 2. And it's not so much as a second-round pick is I've seen Amari Cooper play, and he's another example. You can see greatness in him, and he's got talent, but he's got the catching issues. I think I would be more of a 3rd-round pick or less. And the only reason why I say that is I know a 2nd-round pick can do a lot for the future for the Browns, and that's still where this team is. So I say no, but I can hear that argument more than I can for number 1.
Well, it's difficult to make the decision because you need a guy to come in. Mm-hmm. But the problem is he looks like every other guy lining up already.
I know.
He looks like every guy the Browns have already. That you want to count on him, but you don't think you can right now. You're hoping you can, in the future. Oh, you can count on this catch, and then he made that big drop. Like we've already got enough of that. That's what we've got everywhere.
That's why I'm not in love with the Amari Cooper thing. As I've seen him play a lot, I'm just not in love with that as much as other people are. I actually would contemplate still bringing in Des Bryant because he's got more reliable hands. And so anyways, I guess with all that said, we kind of banter about all this different stuff. Other quick things you've been hearing in the press, more Nick Chubb this week. It'll be interesting to see. I'm not really on that bandwagon. I don't care who runs the ball.
No, well, the other issue I hear with him on that isn't even the running the ball, but his blocking.
And I can see that. And again, Carlos Hyde's playing well.
Yes.
I just don't think that's much of a concern. And that was my last thing I was going to say. I would love to see Carlos Hyde run the ball 20, 25 times in this game. I would really like to see it. Control the clock, shrink this down, because I think that's my last thought on this. And then we'll get to predictions. I would love to see and would love to watch the Browns shrink the time in this game. Because with all these different things going on, I think a shootout, passing game, I just don't think the Browns can win that kind of game right now. But I think if they shrink down the game, focus on, instead of time this game going 3.5 hours, 2:45 to 3-hour game would do the Browns so much, I think, positive in getting into a win. I would love to see them rely on Carlos Hyde doing things to take things off the shoulders of the Mayfields and of the wide receivers and really give him the ball to run.
I think that this game could be winnable if the defense, I expect Greg Williams to come with a lot of pressure this game because of the possibility of it being a shootout. And the reason I think that they'll do that is they can make Winston make mistakes. If they can do that, that changes that will, if they do get him, not just to force turnovers, but to also just the incompletions, the rushed passes, whatever it is that they can do to screw with Winston's head is going to be defensively what can win that game for them. Because other than that, I don't know what else to count on. Again, though, they do that, you're opening yourself up to the rush. I don't know. I don't think the Browns are even thinking about changing scheme at this point. I think that's the way they're going to go into it. And that's going to be the difference maker. Because offensively, as terrible as they are on the other side of the ball, not as terrible, as hurt as they are on the offensive side of the ball right now, the Browns still can put up points, I think, against this Buccaneers defense.
There's no question. There's going to be openings. There's going to be chances for them to win. I know you and I have talked about this offline. I am now hemming and hawing on who to pick here. This is a tough game. It's a litmus test. I
thought
game.
You knew.
I really want to take the Browns. Oh hell, okay. I'm going to take the Browns.
Whoa.
I think they're going to win this game 24-17. I think the over is 80. I've been heard this week. I think that game goes in the 30s. I think Tampa Bay wins. I just don't think the Browns right now are ready to win that kind of game. I think if it's in the mid-20s, they win. I'll take the Browns on that. This second week in a row, no read on this game. I think I'll be ready to go after this week, though. I think I'll be much more ready, prepared to say, here's what I think week to week on the Browns. It's just so hard to read this team coming into this week with everything that's been going on. Talk to me an hour and I'll take the Buccaneers. But right now I'll take the Browns. I'll take them 24-17. I think they'll control the ball and run. And I agree with you. There will be opportunities to make plays with the Buccaneers defense.
I think that this game turns out to be a relief for all of us as Browns fans. I don't know why it hit me all of a sudden, but I feel like by the fourth quarter, I don't feel like mentally. That's the one thing that I think that the Browns definitely have an edge on too, is that they're mentally tougher at this point than we've seen them in previous years. They are, a lot of those guys aren't quitting in that fourth quarter. We've heard them after the Raiders game with the finish. We've got to finish.
Right.
I feel like at least that's going to be with them, and I don't know that the Buccaneers have that or any of that cohesion. I think the Browns surprise us 35-21 and a big fourth quarter collapse by the Buccaneers.
I hope you're right. To your thing, I don't know if the Browns are mentally strong.
No, you don't think? I think if you take Hugh out of the equation, that those guys,
I don't know.
Well, they want to be. How's that?
Okay, all right, I can buy that.
I feel like it does for me. It goes back to Hugh Jackson again. I don't know that. I feel like he's holding them back at this point.
I would say the last thought, then we'll get to around the week. I think this would be a great week for Haley to really shine as a play caller. I've not seen it yet in 6 games. Yeah,
there's that too.
I've not seen it in 6 games.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
I've been sadly disappointed by it, so we'll see. But I'll finish up. I think this is a great litmus test for this team.
Yeah.
I think we're really going to find out where this team's at after the end of this week. Around the NFL, Pats and Bears play at 1 o'clock. That's a very good game for obvious reasons. It's in Chicago. Saints are at Baltimore. Bengals and Chiefs Sunday Night Football. That's a great game.
And thank God for that one, because Monday night is awful.
Oh, clunker. This is your great, me being a documentarian, this is your great storyline game. Giants and Falcons for all the wrong reasons. Because the loser of this game is really heading down the trail of jumping off the cliff fan base. The Giants and Falcons, what a big game. It's such a big spot. Both teams with only one. Oh, wait, the Falcons beat the Buccaneers, so actually they got 2 wins. But really the Falcons can get back in the playoff hunt with this win, and they're thought of as a playoff hunt team. If they lose, I think it's more despair, and the Giants just need a win. Boy, they just need a win in the worst way. So I agree with you, but kind of a clunker.
I don't think they're going to get it. Giants are not going to win this game. I'm calling it now.
I'll say this. The Giants have a knack with Eli Manning to win games they're not supposed to win like this. The Texans was an example. I never thought they'd beat the Texans on the road. Even the Texans aren't a great team either, but Eli Manning has a weird knack of winning games like this, so that's why I'll pause. But I know what you're saying. I mean, the Giants don't look good on paper. Last week I was 1-2 on one of my picks, so I'm going to do them quickly because I want to get to the Cavs.
Yeah.
Cowboys and Redskins. The Redskins are only a 1.5 favorite. I'll double down. I thought that was an aberration game. I was so wrong about the Jaguars last week. But I'll take the Redskins in this game. They're a 1.5 favorite. Rams and Niners. I'm tripling down the Rams. I love the Rams. This is their third road game in a row, and yet I'm still going to take the Rams. The Niners are terrible. And then the Lions at the Dolphins. I was really perplexed by this. I always try to take one underdog a week. The Dolphins are a 3-point underdog at home with a 4-2 record, while the 2-3 Lions are coming into Miami. What does Vegas know that we don't know, Jared? I don't know.
Yeah.
I was perplexed by this line. I'll take the Dolphins and the 3 points. And,
I think it's just the Dolphins.
I guess so, but I was perplexed by that. The Lions aren't that great, but anyways, Redskins at home 1.5. Rams again 9.5 on the road against the Niners. Niners are terrible, and then Lions at Dolphins. I'll take the Dolphins plus the 3 at home. Plus three on that, and that's your NFL. And now it's time for, as I wore my Cavs final shirt today, time for some Cavs round ball.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
They played. Go for it. You lead off.
Well, no, I'm just glad that I was able to catch the end of the game. I was stuck in class during that first game, and I was able to at least watch. And I know, you know what? I saw good things. I saw good things that made me realize it's going to be watchable basketball, which is all I asked for. So go ahead. I didn't mean to jump on it over.
No, you didn't. I think you're right. I think, I'm glad I heard Brian Windhorst say it, because I felt the same way he did. I had a hard time gauging this team, and for obvious reasons, because you knew when the Bulls broke up what you were getting, a bunch of rookies and a rookie head coach. It's not going to work out great. In this case, the Cavs, it's a mix of people. They're certainly not a top 5 East team, but are they bottom basement? I don't know. I mean, hard to read how this team is going to do, because they have some parts and pieces where they're going to be tough on certain nights. Here's the thing. They lost by 12. Obviously, everybody knows that by now, but here's some things I kind of took away from this, and then things to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think
the overall thing, and you and I kind of talked about this through texting, hard to really say what the Cavs still are, because they played Toronto, who's definitely a top 3 team in the East, on their opening night with Kawhi Leonard showing up. I mean, that's a hard game for the Cavs to win. They didn't get blown out. They lost by 12. Some things that are definitely going to be keys throughout the year are, I'm actually going to start from the player's perspective. And it's not surprising. Kevin Love's going to really be focused on a leader on his team.
Right.
And his first matchup, just the wrong team. They have great bigs, and I think that at times got Kevin a little frustrated. I thought he played okay, but again, that's not the greatest matchup for Kevin right now, because teams are going to start focusing in on him, and he got exposed as he does at times on his defense. With that said, I think from what I already saw and we kind of already knew, they're definitely going to be relying on Kevin a lot this year, and I think that's going to be a good thing as time goes on. I think, though, at moments, though, you're going to see him adjusting to that too, because remember, he was always the third, or last year I call him second guy behind LeBron. So he's going to be adjusting now to the lead dog again, like he was for the Timberwolves. So give Kevin some time to adjust. But I thought at times he looked very frustrated, and you could tell he was having a hard time making those adjustments, and that's expected.
From what I saw at the end of the game, it was here I go again as a fan. Refs took the wind out of any balloon of comeback that the Cavs see. Anytime they got traction and would pull that lead down to 9 to 8, get it into single digits. Kev got hit with 3 fouls late, 1 technical. For a really lame calls, in my opinion. The third one, he didn't even touch the guy at the rim. So, and the bouncing the ball was the technical. A one-handed bounce of the ball. It wasn't in the face of the ref. I don't like those calls. I think they're weak. I think these guys have emotion. And, there's other guys that I can say they wouldn't have made that call on, and I don't like it.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I'm not going to add on to that. the Cavs are gonna, the thing is, those kind of plays in the past the Cavs can overcome. They're not gonna be able to overcome.
No, exactly.
Like when those kind of plays happen, that's gonna really at times sink them. Sadly, in basketball, I think that affects you more than it does in any other sport because play-to-play emotion seems to play a lot more in those kind of plays. And
it can build to get on those 10, 12-point runs, and that's what they were doing in those situations. They made a few stops, they made a few points. They were getting fouled on the other end, and it was killed. It was killed all those times.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. Sexton played like a rookie, I thought, his first game. I'm a big Sexton guy, so I thought he had the typical rookie game. Got 3 fouls, felt like in 3 minutes. Really sat a lot because of that at times. Made some mistakes. He took an obvious charge call where he has to pull up. Look, Sexton hit 5 for 5 free throws. He made a couple jumpers, actually, too. So that's, I think, what Sexton's going to get for the first 40 games at times. Right. You're just going to have to be ready for that. And that's a typical rookie. I still am very high on him, but I thought that was your typical rookie game where it's like, man, he just got 3 fouls. He's not doing some things that he should. But if you look at deeper into things, the thing, again, I'll highlight with him, I was just applauding, like, hey, if you're going to make 5 out of 5 free throws the way you play, that's great because you will get fouled as you get better. And if you can make your free throws, that's a huge plus down the road. So that was the one thing I took out of Sexton's play. I loved seeing him hit free throws. I thought that was a great thing. And again, it's a little thing, but those are the things down the road, once he learns how to jump stop, once he learns how he does have the inside and he can penetrate to the hole, Jared, I think that's going to be a big plus for him if he keeps making free throws like that.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him. No. And I think that could be what launches the Cavs into that 8-7-6 spot at the end of the season.
I agree. The Cavs are definitely, they're not Loyola Marymount from the late 80s, but they're definitely playing fast tempo. This team plays really, really fast. I don't think that's going to change in the near term either. So the one thing that I would take from that is, and I texted this to Jared, I actually didn't think their shooting was terrible. What I couldn't get over, and it's just one game, so let's not worry about it too much, but they missed a lot of short shots by the rim, a lot of layups.
Even in the fourth quarter that I did catch, there were some in and outs. Here's one that stood out to me though. I don't think that the entire time that I saw in the fourth quarter, and I could be wrong, I didn't see JR out there.
He's injured right now, not playing.
Did I not? I didn't even know that. I didn't realize he was injured.
By the way,
good thing I do a sports podcast about Cleveland teams.
I just want to, not to get too sidetracked, NBA injuries are the most hardest things to read about online. Because I tried to see what was going on, too, with Larry Nance Jr., and was really having a hard time getting a read if he's going to play tonight or not. But anyways, that's for a different day. JR is injured right now as well. But this team is going to play 10 deep. That's the other thing I definitely saw.
Let them. Get them all out there.
They're going to be playing. And
did Jetty finish with a double-double? He had 9 rebounds in the late in the fourth. I didn't see the very end, so I don't know if he got one more.
Yeah, I thought he played nervous at times too. I thought he played like a rookie at times.
Right.
I thought he did some things that I was not expecting him to make. And again, I think that's just part of this Cavs thing. The Cavs didn't get like a Dallas Mavericks Phoenix Suns home game. They got right out against the Raptors. And they're playing the Timberwolves on the road for Jimmy Butler's first home game. Those are tough.
We're forgetting too that we talk about the Cavs finding an identity, and we're talking about these players, and we're talking about them, rotating 10 guys through, on the floor. Let's go back to where this all gets orchestrated from. Is Ty Lue? He's in a situation where he's learning a completely different team as well, and figuring out, he's got a coach now, Andy. Weird.
Well, there's no doubt. I was going to leave that alone for today because I actually want to see 20, 21 games in to get a vibe.
Sure, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I think the comment was mainly just to say, let's not forget about him.
I agree. No, we can't. You can't. It's just hard to – it's just one game. It's so hard to read how that's going to play. But I agree. I think it's something to watch this year too. The only thing I saw as a negative that I was surprised about was I thought their defense was not great. I know when you play fast tempo, you're going to give up points, but I thought even when they were getting back, I thought their defensive positioning was terrible at times. It's only one
Those
game.
are old habits from last season.
Well,
probably.
those have got to start getting broken because I mean they cannot play defense like they did at times, and I mean it just, especially in the third quarter, I just thought it was very weak at moments. Again, it's one game, so I won't worry about too much. But that's the one thing I saw where I was like, thought that we'd be better there, and we're not as good as we're not even to a average level. Defense has to get better on this team. If they do not play defense, you're looking at low 30 wins, high 20 wins. I mean, that's how big of a difference I think you see on this team. So that's the only thing that I really want to see with this team is better defense. And I think Love getting adjusted, Sexton getting adjusted. I think those are the things I really took out of it. Like, did any other players stand out? I think that's the other thing I wouldn't call a concern, but I didn't really see anybody else stand out during the game, if I'm being honest, Jared. I didn't see anybody that I was like, oh, Chetty Osman looked good here, or hey, I saw good things out of Tristan Thompson tonight. I didn't really see any kind of player stand out when it comes to the Cavs, and I guess that's what we should be expecting, but I'm hoping as the season progresses, we see a third or fourth option kind of come up here as someone to watch. In one game in, I'm not really – and that's one game in, but I didn't really see much.
Yeah, thinking about Tristan Thompson, he's a piece that I wouldn't mind losing from this team, to be honest with you. To where,
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I thought he actually played pretty decently on Wednesday night, but I know why you're saying that. I don't want to say that's crazy.
I don't know what value. Again, I go back to value added. At the end of the day, I don't know where we're at with that.
Problem. His contract's the biggest problem. He's an expensive player. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, and that was and it made sense at the time.
Again, it did. And by the way, it brought a championship, so it's hard to really debate anything.
I know, money well spent. I'm not complaining overall.
Exactly. The one thing I liked that Tristan was doing, though, he made a couple good hook shot moves, and one went in. Again, I actually thought, maybe we should. I thought Tristan actually played okay to well that game. Again, one game in. See how time goes. Well, but again, like it's still tough to see how this team's going to play.
I'm looking forward to watching tonight. I'm not going to miss. I'm glad I don't have to miss any of it.
I will be recording it and watching it later, but I think the bigger one for me is the Sunday night at 6:00 with the Hawks, because that's a game the Cavs should win.
Right.
And I will be watching that game at 6:00 on Sunday. That's the game I really want to see them win. Friday night in Minnesota, that could go either way. So, again, I guess that's where the Cavs are right now.
Fine by me.
It's going to be – I will say this, and you alluded to it. They play fast-paced and up-paced, so there is energy. There is definitely a sense of wanting to win, which is great early on. So the Cavs are fun to watch. Game one in, which is good. Let's see how the games play out. The other big news story is Larry Nance signed a big $44+ million exception, which is great. So now he's extended now for a good while.
I like the deal, too. I thought the money was right.
I thought that was a very good deal. It's too bad right now he's injured. Hopefully he plays tonight. I'd like to see him play. I think that is also another guy you can see making differences.
Well, as long as he's ready for the home opener on Sunday, I think that'll make me happy.
And by the way, that's a very fair point. So that's where the Cavs are. Again, too early to tell, but we'll obviously talk about them weekly in the show. But I thought my overall feel for it was like about what I expected. The Raptors are a top 3 team. You're not going to win that game opening night with Kawhi Leonard. So you lost by 12. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, and it didn't feel to me like again, going back to what happened towards the end of that fourth quarter, it didn't feel like a double-digit loss. It didn't feel. It wasn't a painful double-digit loss. So,
it's a reasonable loss, as I like to say.
And they scored 100+ points.
Yep. Just want to see the growth of Sexton and see how Love does. I think those are the things to really watch. The other things around the NBA, real quick. LeBron and the Lakers lost their opener on the road to Portland. The one thing I took out, who cares who wins these games really on the NBA? But the big thing I took out of that is I was surprised he came out this early. He's already preaching patience, LeBron, after one game in. What do you think about that? Already given the media some thought of like, hey, this is going to take a while to build. Give him that speech. That's interesting.
I don't even know that it needed to be said, to be honest with you.
That's my point.
Like,
one game
it's
in,
already known.
One game in, you're preaching patience? And
I got to be honest with you, they're walking around with a weird amount of swagger for a team that is going to need patience. I mean, that's kind of counter to the to the point, right? The way that Rondo walks around, the pregame stuff. Oh, I love these young guys. Da 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 da. Like, again, it's going to be weird because are you still going to love them? Halfway through the season. Are we still patient?
Well, that's why I brought it up. I'm like, what a weird comment. After one game, hey, it's only one game. We'll see you next. I'll see you the next time. To say that one game in preaching after one loss or preaching patience?
Yeah, opening night.
I love LeBron. I hope that works. I wish he was in Cleveland, but my gosh, I hope that works out for him.
Yep, still only one word.
And talking that way, that is. Weird. I thought that was a concerning soundbite.
Weird.
That is a concerning bite.
It's going to be a weird 4 years. Weird 4 years.
It's already weird in game one. Again, I was surprised by that comment. I more to come, obviously. Only one game in. The other thing I took, you can go through all the scores and look at all the highlights and check them online, obviously. But the one thing, we all knew this team was going to be good. But the reason why I bring them up is Kyrie did not play well, and the Celtics still won comfortably over the Sixers.
Right.
I think the Celtics might be the one team, even more than the Rockets, that I can see giving trouble to the Warriors in a playoff NBA Finals, obviously, with the Celtics. I was really blown away by, I'm like, well, if Kyrie shoots like that and they're winning that comfortably at home, makes you wonder.
Great. Like we need one more reason to give Boston fans.
I know. And by the way, I don't think the Celtics either. Yeah. But I just want to observe. I thought that was, out of all the things I saw on the court, that was the one thing I was like, that's an interesting game one from the Celtics. Because Kyrie missed everything. He only made two shots from the field. And they still won and played and won comfortably at times.
Yeah.
That's an interesting – Celtics are the one team, now that I'm looking back at it, I was wondering if it was going to be the Warriors with 2 or 3 gaps. Now I think it's the Warriors with 1.5 gaps. I mean, I think the Celtics, as the season goes on, it'll be interesting to see how they progress throughout. And again, I am with you. Anytime that kind of stuff happens, it's annoying. It's the Celtics and Boston's annoying when they win. But I got to be truthful. I thought that was an interesting statement they made going into that. And now on to college football.
Ohio State football.
Big game this week is Ohio State playing against my Boilermakers on Saturday night, ABC 7:30. I'm actually going to have you discuss this first. It's strange times in Ohio State as Bosa declares for the draft. You're a Buckeye fan. What did you think of this with Bosa?
Wow. I don't know that emotionally I didn't react. I think I was kind of shocked. But as soon as it set in, I started thinking about it. It makes sense for Bosa. I think what I'm curious about is if this was completely based on the injury itself and the recovery and the plan and because it does make sense going forward to have his own guy or girl helping him get better, to do the recovery, to get prepped, to be that top 5 pick, this coming draft. With all that said, I can't help but wonder if in the back of either his mind, mom's mind, dad's mind, some of the stuff that went on earlier in the year with Urban has anything to do with the decision to kind of clean his hands, walk away, and just prep for the NFL. I know that might be a stretch, but that's what I'm curious about. If there were some other extenuating circumstances that just because you're talking about a team that with him has a good chance, a better chance than anyone else, to win a national championship this year next to Alabama.
I would say this to what you're alluding to. I do think it's a stretch, but I don't think it's crazy because there's been a lot that's gone on at Ohio State this year. It's not been a simple year for the Buckeyes. So I don't think it's crazy. I think it's more of where I'm seeing more, and I forget the kid who played as a running back for Stanford. I forget his first name. He didn't play in the bowl game. I think you're seeing more and more of this now.
Right. But but this is an injury. So, this makes it a little more sense.
No, that's what I mean.
To why he wouldn't want to re-injure. What was it? Wasn't it Ward? Didn't Ward not play in the bowl game?
He might have. I think to the bigger point, and to what you're kind of saying, Bosa had a very serious injury. So even if he comes back, he's probably not coming back until towards the end of the year. So I think part of it is he just says, let's just scrap it and go all the way through. The one thing that I've already seen, keep our eye on it. I have not seen this help any player so far transition into the NFL. So I've seen this strategy used. I've not seen it really pay off. And my example, it would be the running back from LSU who's currently out for the Jaguars. And again, his first name escapes me all of a sudden too. But my point being is, like, he sat out the bowl games. He was worried about his injury status going into the NFL draft. Hasn't helped him. He's still injured. So Bosa makes sense. He's the number 1 overall pick. I totally get it. So that's the reason why he's also doing it. The draft experts aren't going to change their opinion. Will it help? We won't know until 2 or 3 years down the road. But I think he might be the first one we should keep our eye on, because he is taking himself out in the majority of the season.
Yeah.
Not just a bowl game. So
and then the other question is it worse than we realize?
Well, again, I think it's a big injury, and I don't even think he realized what he was getting into. I heard a lot of people speculate and talk about how it's an injury to your core, and it is. Anytime you have something going on with your core, it's going to take a while to heal.
Yeah.
So I think that's true too. So that's kind of how the week started for the Buckeyes, and now you get into this game with Purdue. And look, Purdue's certainly not a force by any matter, but let's just hammer it again. Will Ohio State play a complete game from start to finish? Haven't really seen it.
Why would I have that expectation, Andy?
Well, I think this is a great test when it's on the road. When it's at home, I think you can overcome that stuff easier in college football. I don't know on the road. Purdue fans will be into this game. It's a chance for them to get back into the bowl game hunt. I think if Purdue loses this game, I think it's going to be hard for them to make a bowl game. And by the way, this is Ohio State, so that's not making it seem easy at all. This is a possible game for Purdue to win at times. So, Purdue's going to be fired up and ready to play.
Well, let me ask you this: offensively, what are we looking at with Purdue when it comes to passing game, and because that's all it takes. Again, this Ohio State defense gives up big plays and gives up a lot of points early.
Blou's had a really good last 3 games. He tore up Illinois in the last start, played well against Boston College, played well, he played well against Nebraska. So he's had a 3-game stretch now where he's really starting to hum. There's a fantastic freshman for Purdue named Moore, and he is going to be a star. I think he could actually be in the Heisman running by his junior year. I think he is an absolute stud. Herb Street talks about him too. He's a very, very talented player. So Purdue's got athletes in space and offense. The problem is on defense, Purdue's is so weak. Really, if Ohio State's focusing on point, they're going to score a good 30 to 40 points in this game. Purdue does not have the athletes or the experience to handle it. But Purdue on offense can score, and they can run the ball. So they're a lethal threat. They have a confident coach. Brom's very confident in these spots. He does not shrink to the moment. That, I think, is a big factor in this game. When you have a coach who's not afraid to, take on a task, and Brom's that kind of coach, I think it really helps in these situations a lot, especially in college football. I think it helps out a tremendous amount. So I don't think Purdue's going to shrink from the moment. I think going back to Ohio State, I think this is a big game for Haskins. We talked about some of the Browns players. This is the big one for Haskins now. He's played good at times, but you can see the talent level where he could play great. And I haven't seen that jump yet. You should talk about it more than I should, but I think this is a really big test for Haskins.
Well, I don't think
play great and make that jump into that next level.
Yeah, I don't expect anything different this week again, though. I mean, that's the thing. We've gotten to this point where, he's going to throw close to 400 yards, if not more than 400 yards. And a part of that is because, again, that run game. I don't know. I don't understand what. I really am just confused about Dobbins, and I just don't. I don't know. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
and they're not going to. This is a weird offense to see Ohio State running.
It really
very strange over the past decade.
Yeah, very Texas Tech like, where it's very throw, and they do try to run, and when they do running plays, it's either 1 or 2 yards or a 30-yard touchdown. It's nothing in between. They don't get 4 or 5 yard gains at all. I know you're alluding to. I think this is a big. I'm telling you, I think it's a big game for Haskins. I I have seen his talent level. I think he could really make the jump. I think he's got the talent. I think this could be the game where he makes that jump. I think it's a great setting for him. It's a second road game. I could see Haskins really playing well. And again, Purdue's defense is not strong enough to stop this kid if he gets hot. It's not Penn State.
Well, then it's going to come down to Ohio State's defense.
Yeah, it really will.
Because at the end of the day, this is going to be a high-scoring game, and if Ohio State's defense can't play to task here and can't make it happen, if Purdue's got the ball down 3, if they've got final possession, this could be a Purdue stealing a big win at home against the Buckeyes.
Oh God, I hope you're right. I think that's the thing I was going to hit on the last two, and I'll double down. I think what it really comes down to is, I think Ohio State's going to score 30 or 40 points in this game.
Yeah.
The key thing
they'll score 40. They'll score 40, I think.
I would be surprised if they didn't. The thing is, can Ohio State's defense keep Purdue in the 20s? Because if they do, Purdue's just not going to have a shot in this game. All that said, there'd be nothing more I'd love to do in this podcast than predict Purdue to win, but I just think Ohio State's got too much talent. I think Ohio State wins. I think they win comfortably by 10 points. I think it'll be a close game at times. I think Purdue will really come up fired up.
Yep.
But
first half will be big.
Yeah, I do. I agree. Purdue's one of those, Jared, Purdue's one of those weird teams. Even if they're down 17, they fight hard.
Well, they might be up 17 really at the half, and I'm not turning that away as an idea. Well, I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, Purdue's one of those teams that puts the pedal to the metal once they're hot. Purdue's really coming in hot in this game. I think they'll come in hot in the first half. I just don't know how Purdue's defense is going to slow down Ohio State. No. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. I hope I'm wrong in that case. I'd love to see Purdue win, but I just don't see those kind of athletes. And they've not been playing teams that have had good athletes like this. But even Boston College, who's not a terrible team, they don't have athletes like this. So I think the Buckeyes get by, but I to your point, it's a sneaky game. If you don't, I will final note on this. If Ohio State doesn't show up, Purdue can beat them.
Yeah.
If they do this stuff that they do the stuff they did against Minnesota, I think they will lose. But all that said, I think Meyer's going to remind him about the Iowa game, remind him from last year, remind him about the Minnesota and Indiana games the past 2 weeks. And I just think he'll have his team ready to play and get up. No Irish this week, so the other games to watch, Michigan State, that's a huge game. That's at noon on Fox, early start there. NC State Clemson at 3:30. That's a great – and for people who don't know, NC State's undefeated and ranked 16th in the country. They do go to Clemson, but that's a sneaky good game at 3:30. Mississippi State, LSU on this death march of teams. They play at 7 o'clock at ESPN. And then I think the other thing to watch, I think Alabama's going to win, but to see how Tui plays off his knee injury. That's for later and down the road stuff, but I think that's something else to keep your eye on this week. Alabama, they're going to do what they're talking about doing. They need Tui to be well. I don't know if you can do it with Jalen Hurts. I just don't know. Even with all the talent Alabama's got, I don't know if they can do what they can with Jalen Hurts. Let's end the show with some hitting topics and all that. I know you have teased me on this, so I want to hit it. By the way, we should allude to Boston's in the World Series. Clearly, I can't pick anything in baseball this year.
Well, nobody expected the Astros to fall apart, but at the same time, man, after the stories after the stories came out about the Astros and the shenanigans that they're pulling, I am glad that they are out.
They had a face.
It would have been tainted
experience.
anyways. So
there was a lot of reports and a lot of things printed that the Astros media and Astros were predicting a sweep after Game 1. I'll repeat, they were predicting a sweep. So the Astros, I don't know what happened. I think they got overconfident. I think what was going on with the controversy about stealing signs, which, by the way, that's not a new story. I try not to. It's fascinating. All these teams do it. So it's hard to read from day to day about what – it's like when people complain about Donaldson going to the Indians. I don't know. Baseball, that stuff's been going on forever. So I try not to read too much into it, but the Astros definitely got themselves in that mess. But, kudos to Boston. They overcame it. And for how much I dogged this guy in the past, I thought David Price had the biggest start of his life last night and really came through.
Yeah. What about this? Some weird stuff going on with this Dodgers and Brewers Series 2. Fans getting angry, and bullpens not showing up, and
Whatever. Look, here's where it comes down to with the real quick.
LA fans being the worst.
Oh, whatever. Okay. Well, it sounds like some people are a little irritated. Their cheese might be a little curdled. It doesn't taste as well when you start losing games. I mean, I like the Brewers. I'm rooting for them, but come on. Let's calm down. Fans are annoying when your team's losing. All right.
Right.
Talk to someone who knows. I mean,
right. We wrote the book on it.
All right, exactly. So let's not go there. But here's what I would say about the Dodgers and the Milwaukee, and I want to get into this a little bit. You know, the Milwaukee Brewers are definitely taking a lot of pages out of the A's and out of other teams where they're going through this analytic pitching, analyzation. And, I thought the big game for the Brewers is Game 4 because I felt in my heart, Mike, if they don't win that game, I don't know if they can win again because they stressed out their bullpen too much. And I think that's what you're seeing here again. I have been surprised. Baseball's been around forever, and there's a reason why starters start and relievers relieve. Because if you don't do it this way, you have no length, and your relievers get exposed. Part of the strength of your relievers is you don't see them every day. You can hide them because your starters take over. That's part of a strength to a reliever to me. It's not because they're fantastic. They are fantastic pitchers at times, but if you keep seeing a reliever, there's a reason why they're relievers because they're not strong enough to be a starter.
Yep.
So I would always keep that in mind, people. And I thought what the Brewers did in taking out, Wade Miley after one batter, that's insane. I think that is so stupefied. And I think that's going to, in a way, even though I'm cheering for the Brewers, I'm kind of glad that blew up in their face. Because it's like that stuff will not work. It sets a weird tone. It set a weird tone for that game. And again, in baseball, you have to have length. Now your relievers have been stressed. Now you're coming home, and all your relievers have pitched a lot of innings. Yeah. It's tough. It gets hard. And to the bigger point, which has been talked about, and I was wanting to lead this charge, but I think I'm one of the bigger baseball fans out there, and even I'm having a hard time getting into these series right now. These games are way too long. They're just
you talk about the analytics, you talk about the moves that, we could even talk about the Indians making their moves with Bauer and all that stuff. What we keep forgetting is analytics can only take you so far because we're not computers. These are human beings. These are people with emotion that can ride that wave or not ride that wave depending on the moment in the game. And feel is just as important as analytics in those situations, in my opinion.
I have not seen great baseball this playoff run. The games are too long. Yep. There's too many strikeouts, too much analytics going on. This is not the game I grew up loving. I'm not saying I want steroid baseball from the late 90s and 2000s, but I don't want this either. Yeah. This is we have pendulumed way too strong. This is not for this podcast today, but I'm going to hit this when we have a slower day. The game of baseball has to be very concerned because I think they're starting to lose fans drastically again. After they got all this momentum from Cubs and the Indians, and they got some more momentum from last year's World Series, which was a wonderful World Series between the Dodgers and Astros, I think all that's been washed away. And this is with the Red Sox and Dodgers winning and going to the World Series. There's been no momentum this year. These games are too long, to what you're saying. These are humans. These aren't computers. I just have not seen good, clean baseball, and these games are boring.
Yep.
They're boring. And I love baseball, and I don't mind pitcher's duels. These aren't pitcher's duels. These are analytic duels. Yeah. Let me repeat that. These are not pitcher's duels. These are analytic duels. I don't want that. I want players. I want contact. I want motion. And I'm not seeing that. And these games have to speed up. If they don't start getting a speed clock going, Jared, I think this sport's in big trouble from years to come.
Well, you got to wait for it's almost like you want a purer form of baseball, but the purists are almost ruining it because they want to, you know what I mean? Like they're almost getting in their own way. You got to wait for them to go away. I don't know that that's going to happen anytime soon either. Hell, I grew up playing baseball. I played college baseball for a short time. I love everything about this game. I spent 13 years of my life. I knew more about baseball than anything else in my life. Baseball got me through the hard times. It helped me through the good. Like every last bit of my being as a teenager and in my early 20s was about baseball. And I will say that after saying all that, I am even open up to the crazy ideas of of doing whatever it takes to cut the time down, whether it be cutting innings down, cutting whatever. Cutting the season to 100 games. I don't care whatever it is. You got to do something because it's monotonous too. It's not changing. It is only getting worse. They're not using technology to their advantage. It almost slows the game down even more sometimes when it's supposed to speed it up. I don't think they know. I don't think they have a plan, Andy. There is no plan.
It's out of control.
They're not being. They're like looking at Sears or JCPenney's or any of these box stores, and they're not reinventing themselves to survive in the digital age. That's probably a terrible analogy, but the point is you know what I mean? These are companies that should have been thinking ahead and they weren't, and now they fall behind. Whereas you look at a Walmart this is what happens when you think ahead. Oh, this is becoming a thing. Oh, this is becoming an issue. How do we solve this problem? Let's get ahead of the problem. And that's what's saving big box stores like Walmart as opposed to other organizations in the coming world of Google and Amazon. You know, if you're not preparing for the future and what needs to be done for the problems that are coming up down the road, then you're gonna fall on your face. You're not thinking ahead. And I don't get it. Baseball has been avoiding this issue for 5 years now, at least. Avoiding it. Boy,
it's a cannonball of problems. I mean, this is out of control. I've heard this from many people, and I believe it. I know people that work in the game, and
what's Tim Kirchin say?
Again, this is a huge problem for this game. And again, I don't want to. This is not pitch. I don't want to hear about pitchers duels. These are analytic duels right now.
Yeah.
I don't want analytic duels. I don't want it. I want baseball again. Like, this is not baseball. Sorry. And again, the pace of these games, even for someone like myself and Jared, who are older, in their 30s and 40s, I don't like it. I don't want
No, and nickname on the jersey night isn't going to fix baseball's problem. That's not their problem.
I know. They more to this to come. In fact, I think we should talk about this as the World Series continues because if the World Series has these kind of – and again, it looks like it's going to be – think about this. Dodgers, Red Sox. Dodgers haven't won a World Series in 30 years. Pretty sexy World Series.
Yeah.
Will people be watching?
Does anybody care?
Again, not as of right now, I'd say the answer is no, but we will see. Last thing I want to hit, the basketball trials for the NCAA is now getting to some – wrapping up process, and Bill Self really got hammered in court yesterday. This Adidas executive, James Gatto, his defense attorney, really acknowledged some information about Self knowing about payments, was heavily involved in planning and conversations with his current player, D'Souza. I'm telling you, I know college basketball sometimes is off the radar. That was a story at a time where there's a lot of other sports news going on. That is a huge revelation. That isn't a guy who's in the sport. That's a defense attorney.
Well, I've got some catch up to play on this story too, and it's the type of story that I feel could get its own episode too.
Oh, this more to come on this. And again, this isn't Kansas Tech. This is Kansas. Bill Self. This is a huge story.
Yeah.
Huge story. More to come. I agree with you on that because I when I read that story this morning, I was like, wow. Again, that's a defense attorney who's talking in a court of law. It's not a rumor. He's not trying to bring that up to stir conversation. He's talking about it because it's factual. Folks, that is a damning story for Kansas and college basketball. Damning.
He's Andy Billman. Oh, no, I jumped over you. I thought I hit the moment perfectly.
You know what?
I thought I timed it perfectly.
You know what? It's my fault. That's two
It's my fault because I still have to figure out how to get a second camera. What people don't realize is when we broadcast live and do this, we're doing it over Skype, but my camera is utilized so that you guys can see me on Facebook, so Andy can't see me. So it's my fault, Andy.
Well, two quick things. I really hope the Browns win because I think, to what you're alluding to, I think this could cause a train wreck of losses if they don't. And then, again, I think we kind of peered around it. For people who didn't watch, the Cavs are fun to watch. It's not baseball here. It's entertaining. I see some stuff that's going on, but you need to be patient. I don't know if you're going to see wins right away. That's my final thoughts for today.
He's Andy Billman.
I am Andy Billman.
I'm Jared Watson. This is Cleveland and Beyond. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully we'll be back on early next week celebrating a Cleveland Browns victory and maybe even a Cavs win squeezed in there Sunday too. So take care, Andy, and we'll talk soon. Hey, don't forget to follow Andy and Jared Cleveland and Beyond on Facebook at facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond, and on Twitter at CLE and Beyond. That's at CLE and Beyond on Twitter. You can also shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing your comments. Take care, everybody.